Everything happens in the bone marrow. That's where leukemia comes from. And we're eliminating those cells to a large degree. And so that has surprised the market. That's why we're up 500%. But the good news for your audience is we're still the lowest market cap in that field, which goes from $1 billion to $8.5 billion market cap on the other players that have to do all that stuff outside of your body. Sure. So that's the opportunity here for you. Most importantly for me is to be able to deliver a cancer therapeutic that is so easily tolerated. And these patients have had the crap kicked out of them for many years in trying to fight their fight with, cancer. And we come along with a very easily tolerated drug that they're even they're amazed. They sit back and they go, wow.
Hey there, Midas Letter subscribers. My guest now is Tony Cataldo. He's the CEO and founder of GT Biopharma Inc. Pardon for the hesitation, as I'm new to the company. GT Biopharma Inc. trades on Nasdaq under the symbol GTBP. Tony, the reason I'm in such an interested disposition towards your company is because of the incredible clinical data that you've been coming out with as it pertains to your cancer therapy for leukemia. Can you give us a quick overview of the business of GT and tell us about these results?
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to remind the audience that I think CEOs talk too much and you shouldn't listen to anything we say, because in biotech it's real simple. It's all about the data, human clinical trial data. Unless you have that, anything that you're talking about is just not going to resonate. So GT Biopharma, everybody is familiar with the term targeted immunotherapy. It's been a nice buzzword for quite some, for the last 5 to 10 years. But it's only been recent where targeting is actually really occurring. And we leverage the immune system. I started a company called Iovance back in the day that became very successful, about $7 billion of market cap value, successful. And cell therapy it's the most expensive thing you can do in biotech. And that actually frustrated me because $1 million to $2 million per patient wasn't going to cover enough people. I grew up poor in the projects, and even if you have insurance, it's a fist fight.
Sure.
And so I wanted something that was off the shelf, and I also, sometimes the treatment is worse than the disease because some of these therapeutics are so brutal, chemotherapies being, the obvious one, but radiation therapy, it goes on and on. So it's all about the immune system. We uplisted to Nasdaq on February 15th at a $50 million valuation. We're now about $500 million. We've experienced tremendous growth because of the data. What GT has been doing that nobody else can do, because our patents protect it, and this is the first time ever. It's called a first-in-class, first-in-human FDA clinical trial. This biology has never been done before. And so through 12 patients, we have demonstrated that we're able to rescue your immune system with this special trike drug. It's called a small protein biologic. It's a drug is much cheaper to manufacture than a cell therapy. So instead of $1 million to $2 million per patient, this will be easily covered at about $200,000 in total. Everybody else is in our field spends $300,000 to $1 million clinical trial cost per patient. We spend $30,000. That tells you the economics of the drug are very sound. More importantly than that, it's the ergonomics that I focus on. What is the patient experience? All right, and in these types of therapies, when I mentioned earlier that sometimes the treatment's worse than the disease, they're brutal. And people's immune systems are trash because they're failed on chemotherapy, cell therapy, you name it. NK cells are the most prolific cancer killers that your immune system produces. The problem with them is they only last 3 hours. So all the other technologies out there are trying to do the same thing, get an NK cell to kill a cancer cell. They're much more powerful than T cells. T cells become a problem. They can become overexpressed, cause cytokine release storm, that's toxicity, and hence the move towards NK cells, really causing a lot of excitement in the biotech sector. And in our sector, everybody's trying to get an NK cell, which stands for natural killer, to kill a cancer indication. We can program at that. And everybody can do that to a modicum of success. The problem is that they're having to go outside and manufacture NK cells to supplement their technology into the patient. And that again goes back to bad economics, it's hugely expensive. And then they have to use combination drug therapies to also work that way. So now you're causing additional side effect profile. The trike is a serial killer. And what you guys are going to see in the clip that you're putting on is that the trike is a serial killer. It doesn't just kill one NK cell like everybody else. And remember, I said NK cells only last about 3 hours. The trike lasts for months, and it continues killing as a serial killer multiple cancer cells. And what your audience is seeing is those are acute myeloid leukemia cells being killed by a trike NK cell that's continuing to kill as a serial killer, not just one cell and then it dies.
Sure.
It continues to kill, and it also causes your immune system to proliferate more of these types of killer NK cells with the trike. And that means, and that's all happening in the body. That's why the economics are so huge. The other thing about the trike in our study, which is now through patient 11, where we have real clinical FDA human trial data. Anybody else, any other biotech who's telling you that, you know, preclinical this and we're going to do that, it's meaningless, okay? FDA data is, there's no ambiguity to it. It is what it is, and it's showing in through 11 patients. And the FDA made us start out really conservative at first because they didn't know what the trike was going to do because of this super component called IL-15, interleukin 15, which can be a problem when administered separately, which everyone tries to do. But the way that Dr. Miller, who's the number one clinician and number one MD in NK technology in the world, is he figured out how to leverage IL-15 into our trike. And so to make a long story short, because I know we have a limited amount of time here, is the trike has become a serial killer and there's been no side effects to any of the patients.
Zero
And these
toxicity.
are stage four terminally ill cancer leukemia patients,
Sure.
AML, acute myeloid
So no
leukemia.
toxicity whatsoever.
None. And that's
Okay.
different.
And how about the outcomes for this phase 1 group?
Well, remember, they're all 6 weeks to a couple of months to live, and they've failed on everything else. So 4 out of the last 7 patients, once we got the dose level to a high enough level to start registering, have all responded. That's huge. In a phase 1 trial, you don't see that kind of data. This looks more like phase 2 trials. So we're seeing clinical benefit up to almost 70% of elimination of the leukemia cells in the bone marrow. Blood level doesn't matter. You get levels there. Everything happens in the bone marrow. That's where leukemia comes from. And we're eliminating those cells to a large degree. And so that has surprised the market. That's why we're up 500%. But the good news for your audience is we're still the lowest market cap in that field, which goes from $1 billion to $8.5 billion market cap on the other players that have to do all that stuff outside of your body.
Sure.
So that's the opportunity here for you. And most importantly for me is to be able to deliver a cancer therapeutic that is so easily tolerated. And these patients have had the crap kicked out of them for many years in trying to battle fight their fight with, cancer. And we come along with a very easily tolerated drug that they're amazed. They sit back and they go, wow, you're giving me saline. There is no such thing as, a placebo in a cancer trial. Everybody gets the drug.
Sure.
But it's just that easy to tolerate, and that's really been fulfilling.
Yeah, great.
Especially knowing that, I grew up very poor, so knowing that you can service hundreds of thousands of people because your insurance is going to cover it and the cost is very low. And it's an off-the-shelf technology, and you can use it in earlier stages as well.
Perfect.
So that's the elevator pitch part.
Right. Okay. Quickly tell me about the capital structure. We're almost out of time here.
Right. We're real clean. 33 million shares fully diluted, 31 million shares issued and outstanding. We have $40 million of cash. We don't need money. We have enough cash to last for a couple of years. There's no debt. Our stock is GTBP, George, Tom, Paul, Bob.
Right. You got some in-the-money warrants out there too, don't you?
Yeah, the warrants, when we uplisted, we raised 28 million. We have over 40 million because the cash warrants, because the stock's $15.50 a share, the people are exercising that, but we have plenty of liquidity, and like I said, we don't need capital. So what we need to do is don't make excuses, right? Because I find CEOs make a lot of excuses, and I've always heard a lot of excuses for failure, never any excuse for success. So ignore that failure part, do the
Yep.
work, keep away from the BS, which everybody's used to hearing, and let the data speak for the company.
You bet. All right, that's a great introduction to the company, Tony. We're going to follow the story with interest and have you back in due course. Thanks for your time today.
All right, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Jim.
You
Thank
bet.
you,
Bye for
audience.
now.
All right, sure thing.